Hello and welcome to Chapter 4 of InnoBuzz's online marketing course. Today we're going to be looking at pay-per-click advertising, one of the greatest things of all online marketing. So today we're going to look at a basic introduction of what exactly is PPC, pay-per-click advertising. We're going to take a nice little analysis of SEO versus pay-per-click and when you might want to use one strategy over the other. We're going to look at some examples of landing pages. We're going to look at then two different services, AdWords and Facebook ads. And between those two, that's really the ones that you need to use. There are a plethora of ad providers online. Now, I have personally worked in a digital advertising firm, and so I know that game pretty well. And what ends up happening a lot of the time is there are really two kinds of providers. There are ones who go directly from businesses to consumers, and then there are resellers. And so many of the ones that you can use simply resell. So what happens is they take a package from company X, the advertising package, that hosting capability, and then they tack on a little bit more. So by using original suppliers like Google or Facebook, you end up saving a lot of money in the long run. So that's definitely something that you want to keep in mind. So pay-per-click advertising is the most common form of digital advertising online. It consists of two parts. There's the actual advertisement itself and then your landing page. Landing page is the place where a user goes after they click on your ad. Now, a key part of pay-per-click marketing is testing, which means that once you get things set up, it's not enough to just get someone to write the ad and then make a landing page and call it good. No, absolutely everything needs to be tested. So before we dive into landing pages here, let's talk a little bit about SEO versus PPC. And for that matter, when we say pay-per-click, what does that even mean? Well, pay-per-click means that you're only going to click when a user clicks on your ad. That's the genius behind it, in that you don't really have to be spending money based on views. Unlike traditional advertising where you throw up that billboard and then cross your fingers and hope for the best, this way, you only pay when someone takes action. Now, with that said, PPC can be very expensive. You do have to watch it. And that's the downside. SEO is basically free traffic that just keeps coming over and over and over again through search engines. And that's why having a good content marketing strategy is important. But with PPC, well, the thing is that you buy traffic. So either way you're getting traffic to your website, PPC is directly targeted. Content marketing can be a bit of a tricky game. For instance, here's the advantage of PPC. It allows you to target your users. It's one of the most important things about the entire system, is the ability to say, I want this person to come in. Facebook ads are great at this with their demographic targeting, but even Google AdSense. For instance, we're going to look at a few examples today, one of them being inexpensive laptops. Well, if someone's searching for inexpensive laptops, you know already what they're looking for. They've already targeted themselves for you. If your company provides that solution, then you're good to go. With content marketing, people can end up on your website through search engines with SEO for terms that are not quite as relevant. And that's kind of the catch-22 is you get traffic, but you don't really want traffic. You want traffic that converts. Whether you're a content-based website, you want traffic that will actually click on your ads. And if you have an e-commerce store or you're trying to sell a service online, the most important thing to you is going to be that actual conversion. Now, you wouldn't want to use PPC for a content-based website unless you were also selling products. And we're going to talk about this at the end of this course. We're going to go through an analysis of why you would not actually want PPC ads on your web or want to pay for PPC ads. But anyway, we've been staring at this landing pages screen for a little bit, so let's take a little bit walk down that lane. When a user clicks on a link on your ad, they are taken to a certain location. That location is your landing page. A landing page absolutely must be optimized, and that optimization is done through a testing process. So when you go to create a landing page, there are 3 steps you want to keep in mind, and these are Google's 3 steps. You want to ensure that the content is relevant and original on the page. You want it to be transparent, and you want to make navigation simple. Now, these are best practices from Google, but Google has their own system, which we're going to look at in depth. And there is a reason that they are recommending these 3 things specifically. Can you get away with one over the other? Yeah. Or with taking one away if you're not using AdWords? Sure. Why not? Like if you're getting all of your traffic directly to your landing page from search engine optimization, which would be incredibly lucky, and means that you had one killer search engine SEO strategy. But you should still do these 3 steps no matter what. It's just basic common sense. Just don't rip off, copy from other places online. That's an ethics thing. Be transparent. So make sure that if you're selling something, you actually have the price, unless they're contacting you for a quote. But if you're trying to sell that inexpensive laptop, put the price to the laptop on the actual page. Don't make them click the add to cart button just to get the price. That's always a little bit sketchy. And you want to make navigation simple, which that's just common sense. If a person's coming to your website, it's kind of like that little graph that I showed you in the last chapter, where someone on an advertisement, a company had placed their SEO or their social media information, and if they get the sale or don't get the sale, they have that additional chance of at least getting the person to subscribe to their social media. Well, this is a similar kind of thing. If you have someone come to your landing page and all that's there is the landing page and no other links except the buy now button, well, they're either going to be on your page and convert or not. But if you have the rest of your website, maybe you can get subscribers, maybe you can get them to your social media, maybe you can get a little bit more information communicated to them. Perhaps they clicked on the link, but they're too early in that information search to actually purchase at this point in time. All good things to really keep in mind. So, part 1 that Google suggests, have relevant and original content. Users need to be able to find what your ad promises. Your landing page should provide extremely useful information about the product or service in the ad. The content should be unique, and the content should have substance to it, as we discussed. Transparency really boils down to trust. Share information about your business. The prices on your ad should be on the site, as I said. If you have sponsored links on your website, you want to make sure that you distinguish them, that you disclose them as being there. And this came from a US-based law that came out, I believe, in 2010, which said that whenever you're doing affiliate links, you need to say this is an affiliate link right next to the link. On your site, you want to ensure that prices and billing methods are present. Now, we've already covered prices, but that's a little bit different from billing methods, and that is important. Make sure that you allow access without registration. So if someone clicks on your link, don't immediately bring them a pop-up that says, hey, in order to get into this website, you need to register. Basically, be fair to your users. And then ease of navigation. Provide a simple path to purchase. Don't make there be a whole bunch of redundant, complicated steps. It's worth investing in a good shopping cart if you're selling an actual product rather than trying to code it yourself and having it break all the time. I remember this one example where I wanted to purchase something from a major company over here in North America, just absolutely huge, and just historically they've been around for a very, very long time. And I tried to click on their shopping cart, and it just didn't work. I just simply could not get it to work, no matter what I did, and that wasn't great. You want to take the time to invest in a proper system that won't crash and won't stop people from buying things. It was a decent sized order that I was putting in, and I ended up just getting the gear getting what I needed from somewhere else. There was no reason for me to purchase it there. You want to make sure that you avoid excessive use of obtrusive elements, so pop-ups and pop-unders. The landing page should load quickly, and as I said, users should be able to navigate to other pages. It's always like 2 things with landing pages that are always really sketchy. I mean, 3 things. If you think to like all the yellow highlighting, that's one thing. If you have yellow highlighting, I do consulting for some clients, and one of the things that comes up a lot is landing pages. And one of the first things I do if they have yellow highlighting, I remove it instantly. If they haven't put their price on, I put their price on the page. And the third thing is I make sure that users can get around to other parts of their website. And it's just common sense. I know the idea here is they're there, I want them trapped on this page, but don't forget, they always have that back button. It's super easy for a person to just look at the page, especially if they weren't expecting it to be as salesy as it actually is. Well, they'll just simply hit that back button on their mouse or on their browser. No problems. They're not even going to think about it. So the whole idea of, quote, trapping people on the page actually doesn't work that well. It just doesn't make sense. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean it will never work. And with some products, it probably does. And this gets back to testing. So, as with everything, we want to make sure that we take a scientific approach to it. So, let's look at some examples of landing page. And the way that I drilled up these examples is I simply searched 3 key terms in Google: SEO, laptops, and Hotel Las Vegas. So let's see what comes up. We're going to look at 9 examples. I think that's pretty fitting to see what exactly a decent landing page will be. So Here's one of the SEO ones. No? Ah, there we go. All right. Call today. Contact us. Big green button saying start today. Building some trust. More trust. Interesting. Okay. A solid sales page overall. Now, note what we have going on here. It's clean. It's easy to read. It communicates what they're talking about, or communicates their business offering without being too in your face. They've got some testimonials to build trust. Pretty well done. The yellow pages takes another approach. So they've still got navigation. They've got learning. They've got a video demo. Ah. Very good. And the final one is a Vancouver firm here called SnapTech. Nice graphic. Good offering. Still got the navigation. Got the chat thing here. Fantastic. So I hope that you're starting to see some trends here. All of these landing pages so far for search engine optimization have been extremely well presented. There's none of that goofy sales letter stuff going on. There's none of that over the top, we are the greatest, kind of thing. It's all, we're a decent company. Here's our offering. Here's how you can get in touch with us. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Laptops take a slightly different approach. So remember, all I did was type in laptops. And we're going to talk about why this might not be the best result. But I got 3 pages that come out here. One from HP, behind the scenes overachiever under budget, relatively meaningless copy, but I understand what they're going for here. And then straight to their tab on notebooks and some stuff here. Okay, so at least it does an okay job of demonstrating their offering. All right. This is Dell's landing page, which is absolutely terrible. No value whatsoever. I already clicked on their ad, now they're making me click on something else. Okay, well, let's go for it. Let's go for business. Oh. That's it for business laptop. Like, are you starting to kind of see what I'm getting at here? It's okay, but it's not great. And finally, Sony. So they're doing okay. They've got the navigation. They've got their series, which I appreciate, rather than just one particular line of laptops like Dell had. There's just a little bit more here, new releases. There's ways for customers to segment themselves. It's fantastic. And over to that Hotel Las Vegas search. So we got travel site number 1. Hey, good job. They got navigations. Expedia is a great website for travel. They've got all the segmentation that you want, and they have plenty of examples. I think they've pretty much nailed it for their company. Vegas View, very similar. So I really wanted to show you that because it's examples of landing pages and some that are better than others. And I haven't even began to show you absolutely terrible ones because, well, we've talked about it. And I don't think there's a reason to deliberately look at companies and slam them. Just stay away from the yellow highlighter, anything that's shady. That's like when we talked about SEO. You don't want to keyword stuff your pages. It's only going to work out worse for you in the end. Well, 9 times out of 10, whenever you decide to take the shady landing page approach, it also is going to backfire on you. So make sure that you keep that in mind at all times. Okay. So when it comes to tracking performance, we're going to be looking at 2 primary metrics. And we're going to talk so much more about this when we get to the analytics chapter of the course. But basically, it's bounce rate and conversion. Bounce rate occurs when a high bounce rate happens when a lot of customers come to your website, but then immediately click off. They don't click anything else. They're just on and then off, an immediate exit. Conversion is actual getting subscribers or users or sales. We're going to talk about this when we get to the Google Analytics program, or Google Analytics software package a lot more. So, because the ultimate aim of a landing page is to convert users, you got to test it. And there's really 2 ways to do this. There's A/B testing and multivariate. A/B testing is also known as split testing, and it's called that because there's really just two different paths. You have version A, version B, you pick the winner, and then you do it again. So you would be testing for different things. So let's say that we were testing two different headers against each other. We'd load up header 1 on our landing page, header 2 on our landing page. Hey, 1, great. Now we're going to do header 1 again, and then header 3. And we just keep doing this, and we keep picking the best one over and over and over again. On a much more complicated scale is multivariate testing. Multivariate testing allows you to convert or to test multiple instances of things together. Because let's just take an example. Let's say that we were testing just our headers and then just our images, but we had a lot that we wanted to test, like 10 headlines, 10 images. Well, that's going to take a bit. And then there's one other thing that you got to keep in mind is combinations. Maybe as this graphic shows, maybe headline 1 with image 1, okay, but maybe headline 2 with image 1 is better. If we were doing split testing, it would take literally forever to go through and do all of this. So with multivariate testing, we're allowed, or we have the capabilities to get much more done in a shorter period of time. Now, there's one catch with multivariate testing, and that's you need a substantial amount of traffic on your website. Everything comes down to statistically significant information. Now, if you're doing a test and you only have 100 people come to your page in a day, all right, that's okay. But if you're converting at 1%, in order to get statistically significant information, you're going to need quite a few days. So to do a split test. Now, if you're trying to do multivariate testing like that, good luck. You're never going to finish the test in any way that's statistically relevant. So if you want to do multivariate testing, which is a little bit more complicated to set up and requires a little bit more time and effort, although we're going to talk about that soon, then, well, make sure that your site has a substantial amount of traffic. That's the key thing. We're going to talk about this exact same thing when we get to the publisher side of ads. Right now, we're just focusing on the business side, on the actual advertiser. But when we get to the people, say for blogs who want to put ads on their web page, well, a big part of that is going to be an optimization process that you have to go through to figure out where your ads get clicked on the most. The exact same thing is going to occur. You need to have enough clicks to gather statistically significant information. But we'll talk about that very shortly in the next couple of sessions. So, what should you end up testing for? Well, different headlines and subheadings, different images, different calls to action, different buy buttons, different opening paragraphs, font sizes. Literally, you can test for everything. Amazon.com is the company most famous for what is literally an excessive amount of testing. If you go to Amazon.com right now and you click on a product page, literally everything on that page has been split tested. Everything from the design of the button to the way that they were using Lightbox, which is that nice little pop-up thing, which if you were to click on a product, it would kind of dull the background of the screen, but it's very similar to what Facebook has started doing for images. Everything just gets split tested. The size of the prices, the color of the red, everything can get tested. So your strategy, if your traffic allows it, is to try out as many different headlines and images as you can. Now, how do you do this? You might be wondering. Well, sometimes it's very simple. Like a split test is pretty easy. You just track it in your analytics program. Like on this week, we're going to do this headline. On this week, we're going to do this headline. Or our conversion went up by 2% in week 2, so we're going to stick with it. Okay, that's not too hard. But if you're doing anything a little bit more complicated, you're going to want to use Google Website Optimizer. This is especially true for multivariate testing. So all you got to do is you head over to Website Optimizer. You log yourself in, and then you quite simply set up a test. And it's really not that hard. As with everything from Google, they just walk you straight through the process, and really everything is quite simple from there. So if you wanted to do testing, if you have an account right now or a site and you're thinking to yourself, you're running PPC ads and you realize you've never ever done split tests, this would be a great time to actually pause, go to Google Website Optimizer and set one up right now. No worries, I'll be here. Okay, so why bother, right? No big deal. Well, here's some testimonials I actually pulled from the Google Website Optimizer site. And okay, they did this using Google Website Optimizer. But let's be honest, you can do it with you can do it split testing on your own or use a different program. There are multiple ones that exist. I just personally like Google Website Optimizer. Like I really kind of like everything from Google because it works and it's simple and they have killer support through their help database and forums. But so here's some testimonials from it. Adobe.com increased conversions by 70% and member signups by 50%, which is massive. Dr. Gary Berger improved conversions by 225%. Calyx Flowers used Website Optimizer to drive a 14% increase in the numbers of customers adding items to their cart. I mean, these numbers are pretty fantastic, and it does boil down to just leaving money on the table, really, or wasting money in the case of PPC spend. I mean, you do have to pay to get people to your website, and if you can double the amount of people actually purchasing something, your campaign has just become twice as profitable. Your ROI has just massively increased. And if PPC is the sole revenue source of your company and you can double your revenue or your profitability, well, I shouldn't have to convince you on this anymore. Testing is one of the most important things you can do once you get up and running. Let's talk about Google AdWords. Google AdWords lets you tap into Google's advertising program. It is an incredibly high quality service. It allows the creation and targeting of ads. It works under the premise of a bidding system, which we're going to talk about very shortly. And there are two different display options, Google Search and or Display Network. Google Search, so if you're creating an ad, Google Search puts it on Google's actual search page. So if you type SEO and you see those yellow featured ads or featured products, that's Google Search. The Display Network gets into all of the people who use AdSense on their websites. So it's worth keeping in mind. So because of this, you can use text ads, video ads to integrate into YouTube. You can do image ads. You can do flash ads. There are all kinds of different possibilities. And guess what? Ads should be tested too. Absolutely. Absolutely every ad that you create should be tested against other ads very similar to it. Just makes sense. At first, like on your website with your landing page, that optimization process, that's about increasing your conversions. But with ad optimization, when you're using AdWords, it decreases your spend overall, and it gets you a higher click-through rate, CTR, which is the amount of people who actually click on your ad based on the amount of impressions of it. So optimization, always very important. So creating a PPC ad, how do we do this? Well, we're going to start with keywords. We want to choose specific keywords. So laptops or inexpensive laptops. Inexpensive laptops is the better way to go. It just is. And the reason is because all of a sudden you're targeting people much more. If someone types laptops, well, maybe they're looking to buy a laptop. Maybe they're a journalist and they're doing research on laptops. They want to just see what news pops up at the top of the Google search result. Or maybe they're just looking for the Google News thing when it implements on some terms. With inexpensive laptop, well, we know a person is at least deliberately looking towards inexpensive laptops. So can we think of an even better one? Yeah. Easily. Buy inexpensive laptop. That would be a great keyword to bid on. But we actually have to choose keywords. We can't just make them up off the top of our head. Now, the way we do that is by using the keyword tool. And we've looked at this before, but now we're going to look at it in terms of how the keyword tool is meant to be used. So, inexpensive laptops, we've entered it in, set our locations to all, in languages English, and devices not mobile. Here's our keyword. We know that our competition is high, so we're going to have to pay a lot for it. We're going to talk about that in a second. But it does get a fair amount of global monthly searches. Okay, fantastic. Good to know. What else? What else can we do here? Well, the nice thing is it recommends ideas. Okay. All right. By the way, this is the AdWords interface that I'm actually logged into right now. This is the program. So this is part of the tools. Okay, so what else? New laptops, medium, way more searches, okay. Laptops, medium. Oh, refurbished laptops. Here's a good one. Or affordable laptops. High competition, so you pay a lot, but the number of searches are going to be good, and it's more specific. Okay. All right. Makes sense. Fair enough. So, as we saw, Google will recommend keywords, but it'll also, there's this opportunities tab, which, let's just go back to that real quick here. this guy right here, if you were to click on it, and with my account right now, this is my personal account. So I've got like kind of a sample campaign that I put up and ran earlier before, but if I were to click on it, it's going to say that it recommends nothing. If you had an actual active account that was running ads and you'd taken the time to really develop it, it would bring up relevant keywords and it would give you an estimate about how much traffic you could expect to get, in addition if you utilize these keywords at all as well. So when you go to create an ad, you want to highlight what makes your business unique. You want to include the prices. You want to tell your customers what they can do. You want to include at least one of the keywords in the ad text. So if someone searches for inexpensive laptops, you want to put inexpensive laptops somewhere in the ad text. And you want to match your ad to the landing page. So the way that I most often like to do this is whatever your ad title is, make sure that your landing page has a title that's similar to it, just so customers know. We don't want there to be any dissonance in their minds. We don't want them to be wondering. Okay, bidding. Bidding is the whole idea behind pay-per-click advertising. So you've selected your keywords, great. Now you have to bid for them to be displayed. And you are bidding against every other person who wants to use that keyword. So if we're looking at inexpensive laptops, and you bid 1 cent, but someone else bids 50%, or 50, sorry, you bid 1 cent, someone else bids 50 cents, and the average bid is 35 cents, your ad is not going to get displayed. High bids give you higher positions and more impressions. Low bids give you lower positions and fewer impressions. The bids that are too high will waste money. So if that average bid is 35 cents and you bid $1, well, yeah, I mean, you're going to get the highest per position, way more impressions, but you're also going to waste a ton of money. There was no reason for it to be that high. Bids that are too low will not trigger ads to be displayed. So your 1 cent bid, likewise, nothing's going to happen. Neither will your 5 cent or 10 cent. The average is 35 cents. You're going to have to be right around there. That's just the way it works. However, with that in mind, quality score can change this a little bit. Quality score is a metric assigned to your keywords. It's based on, well, a ton of factors. Basically, you get a high quality score through optimization. You utilize keywords in the ad and landing page, follow Google's ad creation best practices. You want to make sure that the ads are relevant to your keywords, have a quality landing page. Your account history and historical CTR rate, your click-through rate are used as a factor in this, and then the use of ad groups. Now, which are just ways of grouping similar ads together. Now, when you have a high quality score, you're going to experience a decreased cost when bidding, which is exactly what you want. It skews things. So if you have a quality score it's based out of 10. So if you have a quality score of 10 for an ad and someone else has a quality score of 2, and you bid 10 cents and they're bidding 35 cents, your ad might get displayed, and theirs probably won't if they have a critically low quality score. So that's something to keep in mind. It changes things. Quality score is a way of rewarding advertisers who take the time to optimize things. Now, why is this important? Well, Google makes money when people click on it. They're in PPC, but you don't actually give them any money until people actually make that click, unless they're using a different kind of ad, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So their best interest is in making sure that, or their incentive is to make sure that they help you get as much or have as high quality ads as possible. Quality score is one way of doing this. Oh. The placement tool allows you to review and select specific sites to advertise on. This wasn't always around. You couldn't always use to click or to select the sites you wanted, but this is the placement tool. So basically we can look with our inexpensive laptop, all locations, laptopsarena.com. We can scroll down, view profile. Here's the example page, and the profile. And this just gives you information about the company. And here's their site. So you can basically choose to have your ad displayed here is the idea behind it, and lets you know exactly what kind of ads they do. Now, I believe that I did misspeak. You can actually select, oh no, I'm mistaken. I was right the first time. I just had a slip. To choose the sites that you want, you would click them here, and you would go Ad Placements. Done. Very cool, very simple, very easy. The Ad Preview and Diagnosis tool. Well, sometimes your ads are not going to be working out. Now, here's a common thing. If you've never used AdSense before and you have no idea what's really going, never used AdWords before, and you don't really know what's going on the first time you do it. You just don't. I remember the first time I created an account, and it was horrible. My ads weren't displaying. I had no idea why. Nothing really made sense. There was this quality score thing. What was that? I was getting all these errors that popped up, but I wasn't getting errors at the same time on all of them, and yet they weren't showing either. It just really made no sense. So Google developed the Preview and Diagnosis tool to help you out. So here's a sample search. Inexpensive laptop. Okay, here's what it looks like. Here's what it would look like if you had had ads that were relevant. Okay. Showing ads right now? No, because the keyword phrase you've entered doesn't currently trigger any of your ads, because the keywords that I have on this account have nothing to do with inexpensive laptops. So okay, good to know. Now we can see, okay, well, why am I not showing any ads? Because I don't have any relevance. Okay, it might say quality score too low or any number of other things. So definitely can help you out. You get there through the Tools and Analysis tab. Now, there are different kinds of advertisements online, and this course, this chapter, typically focuses on PPC, but there's also CPM and CPA. CPM stands for cost per milli, which is your cost per 1,000 views for your ad. And this is best for advertisers who are focused on brand awareness. It's not really used all that often, but given that CPM is typically very cheap, companies do tend to go for it. It also means that you don't have to worry about that CTR rate and converting, because all you want them to do is really see your ad, and if they click on it, great, but if not, no big deal. So maybe if you just simply had if your landing page just simply had a video for a new product that you were going to be launching at some point in the future, then maybe CPM would be a better way to go. Cost per action is being called the next evolutionary step in online marketing, and I kind of hope it is. It's very similar to PPC in that you only pay once a click occurs, but there's a difference here. PPC, you pay on the click. CPA, you pay when the person actually purchases something on your website. So I don't know how terribly much this will catch on, because it means that companies like Google start sharing a lot more risk with you, as in they're only going to get money when the advertiser or when the person actually buys. So Google can help how well their ads are and how well they work, but they can't really help how well your site is. So we'll see how much this catches on. The Google does offer this at the moment. Hopefully it'll stick around. And retargeting. If you've ever been to a website, like I was recently on staples.ca, and I was looking at picking up some office supplies, and I had this shopping cart queued up. It was filled with some good stuff, but I didn't really need it at that point in time, so I just exited. I decided that I'd go back and get it later, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't necessities. And what ended up happening a few days, within just a few hours, I started noticing online I was getting ads for staples.ca, which I hadn't got before. So this is an example of retargeting. And retargeting allows you to reach people who previously visited your website. So how do you enable retargeting? You just add a piece of code. It's pretty easy. It's one of those. This is the joy of the internet. Everything is just done so well now, and again, with Google Ads, AdWords, it's easy. It really is just a fantastic program. It's why we're talking about it. It's also absolutely massive. Their display network between Google's search results and then their display network of content-based websites who will advertise your product, it really is just absolutely gigantic. Okay, so let's look at a demo here. How on earth do we actually create a campaign? Well, let's walk through one. So what we've done is We click on the campaigns tab and then click new campaign. So an expensive laptop, worldwide. Okay. Don't need to worry about advanced location options. Networks, all available sites. Devices, all available devices. This is becoming increasingly important with the onslaught of smartphones. However, it would be worth looking at some data, and I haven't actually seen any recently. Is it worth advertising to smartphone users? I wouldn't think they convert as much as people online, or on like desktops and laptops. But I'm not going to change that because I haven't actually seen the data. Now, if I was running this right at this very instant and I was sitting here, we're kind of paralyzed. What should we do this? Well, let's look at something. Concert tickets, I can see people doing that, but we're selling laptops and people generally want more information. So we're going to disable that, and we're only going to show laptops and desktop computers. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Now we'd want to look at a little bit more data, and we could test this later on, but this makes sense here. Okay, so bidding. Basic options, advanced options. I'll manually set my bids for clicks. Yup, generally you do want to do that. AdWords will help set my bids to maximize clicks within my target budget. That is also worth doing, right? But I prefer to do things manually. It helps you keep control of your money. So default bid, really, there's not much that you can know here. I mean, until you've actually spent time dealing with keywords in your niche, there's very little that you can do but guess here. So why do I say this? Well, there's been campaigns that I've looked at where the average cost per click was 30 cents. Seems to come up a lot. But recently I've been working on this campaign for another company, and what they've been doing is their minimum cost per click is somewhere around 80 cents at minimum, and their average is in about $1.30 per click. So how do you even begin to set this? Well, there's really little you can do, so we're just going to say 50 cents. Our budget per day, $1,000. Okay. Let's not worry about any of that. Save and continue. Okay, so I mentioned ad groups before when we were talking, but what exactly are they? Ad groups allow you to organize similar ads together. That's all there is to it. So, ad group number one, we're going to just inexpensive laptops. Okay, that makes sense. Our campaign is for an expensive laptop, so our ad group name is. Okay, but when would we want to change this? Well, what if we were looking at netbooks? Netbooks are not expensive, so we might have an ad group for netbooks. And then everything would have the description and the headline would all talk about netbooks. That makes sense. So it's just a way of grouping ads together. So we're going to create a text ad because it's the simplest. It's cheapest. Can't type today. Cheapest laptops available. Okay, here are two problems that immediately come up. First of all, if we look at the ad here, it's cut off. There's no more room. No more room at all. And there's another thing here, a best practice thing. We don't want it to be like this. Capital, lowercase. No. Every single thing, this is the best practices, and you can figure all this out if you dive into the AdWords help. Everything. Cheapest laptops. Okay, now all of a sudden things are good. Now in the description line 1 and 2, we do want to continue to keep with the capitalization thing. So description line, buy the cheapest laptops, and we see that we're almost out of room. So it actually fit. Fantastic. Buy the cheapest laptops possible. 50. No. 5. Take 10% off now. Period. Display URL. Still going with the capitalization. Still making things easy for the person to see, read, and understand. Thank you, Google. Okay, so now we've got an ad. Is this a good ad or a bad ad? Well, we've looked at some of the best practices. We've read some of the literature. So we know that there are things done about this, or things about this ad that are good. There are. The capitalization, it's relevant. Oh, hey, look, it's not really that relevant. Ad groups, remember? Inexpensive laptops, cheapest laptops. This could be better. So we're going to actually change our ad group name. Cheapest laptops. Because we want it to stay as similar as possible. Why do we care about this? Why is that ad group thing worth doing? Quality score. This is one of the ways that you can directly boost that quality score. So it is actually really important. Okay, so now we've written our ad. Is it a good ad? Well, like I said, like I was saying, follows a bunch of the best practices, but we haven't tested it. Ideally, what we would do is we're not going to do this in this demo here, but what we would do is we would take the time and create about 10 of these ads, maybe 20, maybe 30, maybe 50, depending on the skill of your campaign. And we'd run all kinds of different ones and test them against all different kinds of keywords and get that information done. Optimizing an AdWords account is a process. It isn't easy. It takes a substantial amount of time. It's worth doing. It's worth hiring the person, but as always, there's an additional cost involved with that. So keywords, okay. Cheap laptop, what is our group? Cheapest laptops and the inexpensive laptop. Well, we're gonna keep it relevant, remember? So no inexpensive stuff. Add cheap laptop sale, because we're on sale. Good cheap laptops, best cheap laptops. Yes, okay, done. And we can go through all of these different things and add the ones we want, sure. And we have this keyword list. Estimated search traffic. Okay. So, hey, we've got some traffic estimated here. Based on a max CPC, $271. Remember when I told you I've ran campaigns from 30 cents to the current company with, the highest being about $1, or the normal being about $1.30. Here we go. Our max CPC is going to be about $271 with these keywords. Not a big deal. It's all high competition. We kind of knew that going in. And we've got our Canadian cost of $1,000 a day. So average CPC. Okay. Max CPC differing from average, of course. Estimated clicks per day, depending on your conversion rate of your ads. They obviously can't tell you for sure that you're going to get 799, so they give you a range based on typical conversion or CTR rates. And then your cost a day. Okay, so you're going to expect to be spending about that much a day to generate about that much traffic to your website. So is it worth doing? Is it not? Well, this is where we get into metrics and testing and numbers, and we're going to talk about this at the very end of the chapter a little bit. We're going to look at some of the actual math that goes into it. So, ad groups. Default bed, 50 cents. Average cost per click. So there's no point in making it be there. So we're just going to put out 1.25, 1.25, and again, we're just estimating, right? We don't know for sure. Now, if I was running this account for real, and this was me, or I was doing this for a client, what I would do is I would put in 30 cents, because 30 cents happens a lot of the time. And I would watch and see what happens. Do our ads get displayed? If they don't, well, then all of a sudden, okay, I know that I got to bump it up. And I'd pay a lot more attention to this. And I'd say, well, I can expect the average CPC to be about $1.13 on average at the lowest. So I'm going to just straight put it up to 75 cents. A huge jump up when you look at cost per click, but we can pretty much estimate. I like doing this because it's safer. I don't want to say, what you don't want to do is you don't want to look at this and say, okay, average cost per click 160. Okay, well, I'm going to put $2 just to be sure that my ads get displayed. That's not good practice. That's a good way to spend an awful lot of money. Now, when we're looking at this, our cost per day is pretty low, but this can suck so much money. It really can. And we've maxed our budget right now. You can just imagine if we had set 10,000 or heaven forbid $100,000 a day in maximum spend. If you're spending $100,000 but you're only getting $30,000 of actual value because you have overbid on all your ads, that is just straight foolishness. It's really just baby town frolics. You need to take the time to optimize and be careful. I mean, you're spending money in a very real way for your firm. Save ad group. Quality score is all 1 out of 10. Doesn't matter. The ads haven't been approved yet, which needs to happen. Someone at Google will actually take a look at them and say, yep, we're gonna go ahead. Quality score is low. Why is it so low? Well, the site doesn't exist. There's no landing page there at all. We just picked random stuff. So we're not really going to worry about it. But this is our main information. So we've got our ad, and we've got cheap laptops and all the different variations that are relevant to it. Okay, so from here, once the campaign gets underway, we're going to start seeing clicks. We're going to start seeing impressions, the CTR rate, the average cost per click, all these things that are good to know. And so let's just run through a quick, just use our imaginations here. Let's say that the CTR on this was 0.05%, and the CTR on this one was 5%, right? We were looking at massive amount of impressions, but then we were actually looking through our analytics data, and we saw that this one wasn't really converting, and it wasn't getting many people anyway, but this one was. Okay, so all of a sudden we're going to just get rid of this one. Don't want it. Make it go away. Oh, come on. Oh, of course. Pause. We're going to stop that keyword from happening. Done. Okay, so this is good practice. It's a big part of running a campaign. And likewise, if we were doing different ads and we had different ads all lined up here, they would display in the exact same way, give the relevant information. If this one wasn't performing, we would pause it, stop it, call it good. Okay, now here's something interesting. If we decide that we like cheapest laptops, buy the cheapest laptops possible, take your 10% off now, but we feel like we want to add some text here because we left it. It doesn't seem smart to be able to put more information, but to not have it there. So we go to click edit. Before you edit this ad, changing will delete the existing ad and create a new one, which will be submitted for review. The old added statistics will still be visible in the total line for deleted ads. Okay, so you got to keep that in mind before you do it. It's generally better practice to just copy the ad, duplicate it, and then just make the changes to the second ad. Just makes sense overall. And that's basically how you go about setting up an AdWords campaign in the rawest, most simplest form. Now, keep in mind, we haven't gone through the optimization process at all. We've just looked at how to get ads up. We've looked at putting the money into the system, getting the basic keywords done so you can target relevant ads. We've looked at ad groups. That's really the simplest stuff. But we haven't actually focused on any of the meat here. The odds of this, me guessing, even knowing the system as well as I do, the odds of me guessing this and just making it profitable, not very high, in all honesty. It absolutely does need to be optimized. So please keep that in mind. But nonetheless, there's a great overview of the AdWords system. And I will delete that campaign later. All right, let's switch over to Facebook here. Facebook ads are kind of revolutionary in many ways, and that's because unlike AdWords, which only displays ads based on, well, at first it only displayed ads based on someone's search results. Now there's more information going into the system to display more relevant ads. But primarily, ads are triggered based on the keywords. With Facebook, you have much more advanced targeting. And that's because a person's profile has all that nice sensitive information like their sex, their age. You just get to know so much more about them for sure. And Google has cookies and other systems in place, which your Gmail account, if you happen to have one, which does tell them information to, help them serve you more relevant ads. But, well, it's not the same as Facebook. Facebook just has all of that on lockdown. If I'm logged into my account on my computer and they're displaying ads, it's pretty clear that it's going to be me accessing my account at any given time. Whereas with Google, if it's just family computer, for instance, well, it doesn't really know. Right? So the targeting of Facebook, much better. So how do you create a Facebook ad? That's actually not so different from creating a Google ad, as we just saw. You got to determine your goals, you got to set your targeting, you got to design an engaging ad, make your budgeting done, and then review, analyze, and improve. I'm pretty sure that is exactly the same thing that you do for Google. Now, one of the things that's nice about Facebook is that, like Google AdWords, well, there is reporting features inside of it. So there you go. A good look at what you can expect. So how do we create an ad on Facebook? It's very simple. They've really gone out of their way to make it just easy. So here's my fake Facebook account once more. Advertising is where you want to go. You click on that. Create an advert. Once you click on that, you get to this page, designing your advert. Okay. So you select your destination, external URL. URL www. cheaplaptops.com. Cheap laptops. And you'll see that I've already got InnoBuzz's logo uploaded here. So the consistency is, now with Google it was just text and title. Facebook is title, text, and image. So having an engaging image is something that can really help you. If you have a boring image, that's not great. Some of the more effective campaigns make a solid use of images. Of course, there's the good old example of having a hot woman up continuously works. Actually, far better than it should, in all honesty. Having some kind of crazy interesting picture. If I was not doing cheap laptops, but if I was doing resorts, I would have just the most gorgeous pictures up so people could see what they're missing. With cheap laptops, maybe a good image would be, no, actually, just a laptop in all likelihood. But I don't know for sure. I don't know. You don't know. How do we find out? We test different images. But we're just going to focus a bit on this one. So get the cheapest laptops here. Get the cheapest laptops here. Take 10% off now. And that's all there is to creating an ad on Facebook. Now, let's hit continue here. Next thing that comes up is targeting options. Well, we want to go a little bit bigger than Canada. United States, age range, anything cheap laptops. Stop it at 50. Require exact age match, male and female, precise interests, computers, laptops, advanced demographics, interested in, relevant, relationship, irrelevant. However, if we were doing, if we were in any way related to dating, like if we had a dating website, then we could definitely hit single people. If you were a wedding planner, then hitting engaged people would definitely be an option for you. This is why Facebook is so powerful, because of these targeting features. It means that your ads get served to the most relevant people, which gets you the highest chance of getting people to purchase. So you can also set education and work, whether they're a university graduate, at university, or at secondary school, or all, and then any workplace that they might work at, which is pretty cool. And right off the bat, that gets me a little bit of B2B marketing I can see in here. And continue, and we get to our campaigns, pricing, and scheduling information. So I don't know why it defaults to that. We're going to do in USD. You would name your campaign, say your budget. Run it continuously would be for most people want to click. Most of the time you're going to want to do CPC. Facebook recommends a bid, a maximum bid. That's their suggested amount. And that's all there is to it. So again, just like AdWords, you're going to have to play around with this a little bit. You're going to want to look at some data. Review advert. Done. Okay, so let's take a look at things. Here's our information that we entered. Here's our targeting. Here's the name of the advert. But we can see some problems. This could be fleshed out a little bit more. This could be a little bit bigger. This image is in no way related to the actual product, and it doesn't look very good, so we don't have a perfect ad here. So we were doing this for real. We want to go back and change some things, but for our demo purposes here, we'll call it quite good. You would hit place order, and you'd be good to go. Your ad would start showing relatively soon. So the last thing that we want to talk about: when should you not use pay-per-click advertising? It's not perfect for all firms, and it boils down to it boils down to your target market and whether they will respond to PPC advertising, but it also boils down to your margin and your revenue structure. So I was talking with the CEO of a software company here in Vancouver, and one of the things we were discussing was whether they should be using PPC advertising or not. And he commented that he had people analyze this before for him, and what the numbers that they had brought back was that based on their current revenue structure, they would be spending 50% of the revenue on PPC, which for the way that his company was built was just not appropriate for them. So when should you not use pay-per-click advertising? Right off the bat in instances like that. Now, it's not to say that every company can expect to have 50%. Like, certainly Dell is not spending 50% of their revenue on PPC advertising. And now, with that being said, if you're a small company and you sell one or two high margin products, you might not mind spending 50%. You could have a fully optimized campaign, be spending 50%, and if it's your personal business with you and maybe a couple of employees, you can be bringing in a lot of money. So you need to analyze it for your firm. And how do you go about doing that? Well, the easiest way is actually to use a pay-per-click calculator. So this is just one of many that you can access online. So basically all you do is you just enter in some of the basic information, and you should have a pretty good idea of what all of this means now that we're at the end of this course. So you'd enter in your current conversion rate on your website. So let's keep it at 1%. The amount of new traffic coming in per month from PPC. So we'll say 1,000 people just for a small campaign at 50 cents per person. So we know right off the bat that this is going to be costing $500. And then the average value of a sale, we'll run it at 95 bucks. So average monthly new revenue, 950. Average monthly spend, 500. Get an average of 10 new clients for 120 a year. And this would be our annual new revenue. Okay. Now this is a small scale. Now let's look at maybe a decent consulting company where 2,500 might be the average value. And we'll keep all of these other numbers exactly the same. All of a sudden, our $500 has resulted in a ridiculous amount of money coming in. And that annual net revenue, huge. Huge. Absolutely ridiculous for just a little bit of annual cost. Here's another example though. If you're a t-shirt website and the average sale is, you sell $10 t-shirts, for instance, and your average is 1.5 t-shirts per sale, so 15 bucks. All of a sudden the numbers share a very different story. You're going to make 150 in revenue, not in profit, and your average monthly pay-per-click cost is going to be 500 bucks. So here you are losing money from PPC, and this is exactly it. It's not for every business. It's not for every company. Now, other companies can still utilize advertising online. They would just have to find or utilize other strategies. If you're sitting here, if you're a marketer, a digital marketer, and you're a little bit stumped, you want to grow the traffic for your company, and you're kind of running through this calculator or through this tool as I'm talking about it, or you will right after this course ends, and you may be a little discouraged. Don't worry, there's still other ways you can do it. For instance, something that people do is they simply trade advertisements on each other's websites. So if you sell product X and someone has a company that sells product Y, it might not be uncommon for people to trade advertisements on each other's links. There's still things you can do if you want to advertise. You would just have to find more cost effective. And certainly if advertising does not seem to be profitable for your company and you've tried optimization and there's just absolutely nothing that you can do, you would certainly want to look into some of those alternative methods, and SEO would be great, and then a social campaign would be a very viable option. Now, with that said, going back to that consulting company, $2,500 average sale, this is, all of a sudden, if this is a solo practice, this is a very successful solo practice. And for 500 times 12 months, I think we can agree that that would be a very, very, very acceptable spend. So, again, the profitability of the campaign will depend, on how optimized you are. To be honest with you, if this was my company and I was spending 500 to make 300K, in all honesty, I wouldn't even care about optimization at this point. It's just absolute pennies. But, and by which I mean it's a small campaign, the $500 in this instance. But if you were looking more like at that $95 one, in this case here, I would want to be optimizing it because 950 to 500, we're a little bit over 50% with our spend here. And if we can drop this down to 400 or 350 and then begin scaling it up and generating more traffic, all of a sudden that would start to have pretty big numbers, right? It would be a big difference in the end for our company's profitability. So good things to keep in mind. And I do believe that is going to wrap up this chapter. That's chapter 4 done. So there's a great overview on PPC marketing. I hope this guide has been extremely informative. If you're at a loss, especially for using AdWords, I highly recommend that you check out Google's help. It is absolutely amazing how clear it is and how much information you can get there. You can, if there's anything about this course or anything at this point that you just feel a little bit unclear about, you can go over there and they will probably have answers to your questions. And, like I said, because it's so cheap to start a PPC campaign, you don't have to commit millions. You can start out with $100 budget. That was how I ran my first ever one ever, as it was just a trial, just to see what I could do with it. And it was the biggest learning experience ever. It didn't go particularly well out the gate, but by the time the next one came around, I was ready to go. And the fact is, to spend $100 to learn a system, in my mind, that's money well worth it. And that's just me. I figured it out on my own as I went. I hadn't listened to a course or really took the time to read up too much about it in advance. So you already have a huge advantage over top of me. And with that, I'd really just encourage you to give it a go, see what happens. All right, I'll wrap it up here.